The iPhone 14 and the iPhone 16 had a baby, and we got this phone, the iPhone 16e. And it's fair to say that this is currently the most hated iPhone in 2025. If you watch all the reviews of this device on the internet, they have been pretty negative, and I can't say I don't agree with them. $600 or some 60,000 rupees for a single camera, 60Hz screen, no MagSafe does seem like a lot. And if you catch a good deal, you can actually get the iPhone 15 or 16 or something like the OnePlus 13, which is a proper flagship phone for a similar price. So on today's date, as we speak, Apple's cheapest iPhone in 2025 is not worth its price. But let's imagine we are in the year 2026, and at this time the iPhone 16e makes more sense. So if you look at Apple's history of all of their base products, iPhones, MacBooks and even iPads, Apple drastically drops their prices at the end of the year sales. Like this year, the iPhone 15 was available for 50,000 rupees, which is a great price. And I am sure this phone will also experience good price drops eventually. So I am going to skip a year and review this phone as a $450 or a 40,000 rupees phone, because I am 100% sure the iPhone 16e will be available for a better price. It has to be. Okay, first of all, the thing I love about base iPhones is their size. The iPhone 16e is the exact same size as the iPhone 14, same body, same dimensions, and I have to give it to Apple, this is one handy phone to use. Apple did tweak the back material a little bit. It's more matte finish like the iPhone 16, but besides that, the hands-on feel, the heft, everything resembles the iPhone 14 here. Apple has cheaped out on the glass protection though. The iPhone 16e features the last gen ceramic shield glass, which is not as robust as the newer iPhones. But I am happy that the action button has made its way here, so rather than just working as a mute switch, you can customize it for other functions as well. Plus, you also get the IP68 rating like the iPhone 16. There, however, is no camera button here, but I am sure no one is going to miss it anyway. The display side on the iPhone 16e is the exact replica of the iPhone 14. You get the same notch, same display quality, same 800 nits of peak brightness, similar bezels, and the same 60Hz screen. Now, in terms of quality, this is a great screen though. It's really responsive, it's well calibrated, it supports Dolby Vision HDR. So, quality-wise, I will not complain. My only gripe is with three things. First is the notch. I have gotten used to Dynamic Island over time, so that big notch looks a bit ugly and intrusive to me. Second is the brightness. So in sunny or extremely well-lit conditions, visibility on the iPhone 16e is not the best, especially if you put it against the iPhone 16. And third, no points for guessing, it's the 60Hz screen. I reviewed the Galaxy S25 series and the OnePlus 13 before this, and that lag while app opening or the little micro stutters while scrolling is quite noticeable. On the brighter side, that 60Hz screen combined with a slightly larger battery on the iPhone 16e means that you can get great battery life on this phone. And if you didn't know, Apple had been relying on Qualcomm for their 5G modems previously, but on the iPhone 16 they have used their own C1 modem, which Apple claims is the most efficient 5G chip to be ever used on any iPhone. And in my testing, I can say that it's true. I am someone who's on mobile data all the time, and on a typical day, I have been able to get around 7 hours of screen on time from the iPhone 16e, which is the most I have ever gotten from a base model iPhone. In comparison, the iPhone 16 gave me only 6 hours on a similar usage pattern, so battery life is definitely one of its strongest suits. Next, the performance is also something I am really happy about on the iPhone 16e. Apple has used the same A18 chip on the iPhone 16e like we get on the iPhone 16, which means you can get similar performance on both of these devices. Yes, you get one less GPU core on the iPhone 16e, but I haven't experienced any difference in performance when comparing the 16e and the iPhone 16 side by side. Here are some screenshots of my gaming tests, and you can see PUBG runs very similarly on both. Even the FPS numbers in games like Genshin Impact is not that different. It's only when you run a GPU-intensive benchmark that you see a little bit of a difference, but other than that, the variation is quite marginal, especially in day-to-day performance. And because you get the latest A18 chip here, the iPhone 16e has support for Apple Intelligence too, all the writing tools, cleanup tools, everything, which is something you don't get on older iPhones. The only thing that you have to know is that the thermal management on the iPhone 16e is a tad bit weaker than the iPhone 16. Okay, next, camera, and I have to say I'm a bit disappointed to see the lack of an ultra-wide camera here. Personally, it makes a lot of difference to me. I like shooting videos for my Instagram page from the ultra-wide lens for that wider perspective, and on the iPhone 16e, I cannot do that at all. It's got a single 48 megapixel camera at the back, and that is all. And if you're wondering if this is the same sensor as the iPhone 16, well, it's not. It's actually a much smaller sensor. Now, that does not mean you will get drastically inferior photos from the iPhone 16e though. In broad daylight conditions, I got very similar photos from the iPhone 16 and the 16e. There is a little bit of difference in the color tone, but besides that, the difference in details and dynamic range is quite small. The portraits look almost alike. You also get 2x lossless digital cropping over here, which means that you can get good subject focus. And in terms of the selfies, since you're getting the same sensor as the iPhone 16, the output is quite identical. However, I found two differences between the iPhone 16 and the 16e's cameras. First is, since the iPhone 16e has a smaller sensor, during nighttime I've noticed more grains in the images, a lot more than the iPhone 16. Second is, the iPhone 16e only has regular OIS and not sensor shift OIS like the iPhone 16. So when you shoot videos, you can notice a little more wobble. That's not to say the footages lack stabilization completely, but as you can see in these samples, there is a difference. Plus, you don't get the option to shoot cinematic or portrait videos, and you don't have photographic styles like we get on the newer iPhones too. Moving on, besides the camera, one of the other things I am not so happy about is the charging support. Wired charging is still the same at 20 watts, which is not a problem, but for some reason there is no MagSafe charging here. There is wireless charging, and you can get a MagSafe compatible case if you absolutely want magnetic charging, but the speed is limited to just 7.5 watts, which is incredibly slow by 2025 standards. So in the end, I know all of you might be asking the same question MKBHD asked: who the hell is the iPhone 16e for then? In 2025, for 60,000 rupees, this is sadly not the budget iPhone we expected Apple to launch. In my opinion, this phone is for someone in 2026 when it's going to be available for 40 or 45,000 rupees. And at that price, this is going to be a much better value than mid-range Android phones like the Vivo V60 or the Galaxy A57. You are going to get the cheapest iPhone with a powerful chip and Apple Intelligence then. So don't rush and wait for the Diwali sale or the New Year sales. So what do you guys think of my analogy? Do you agree or do you disagree? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Saying this, I'm Pratima Adhikari, and thank you so much for watching.